everybody, I'm Jennifer Blevins-Smith with Integral Clinic Solutions, and you're watching my YouTube channel, Navigating the Business of Medicine. Today I want to talk about practice funding options. Things that you can consider if you're thinking about opening your own practice, and some options for funding. Now, hopefully you've already watched my video about creating a business plan and making sure that you have a pro forma put together and a really solid understanding of what your goals are going to be short-term and long-term with opening this practice. Hopefully you've done market analysis and all of that, and you have a very, very thorough, complete, and well thought out business plan that you can share with a lot of these options that we're going to speak about today. So just jumping right in, the first option is kind of the most obvious option, and that's going to be business loans through a bank or credit union. A lot of people forget about credit unions as an option, but a lot of times they can offer even better interest rates, and so it's definitely something to think about if you're looking into getting a loan through a traditional institutional bank or also a credit union. The second thing is a lot of people will take out a second mortgage on their home. Now, this is really risky, and the percentages of businesses that open, that stay open, and that are successful is very low. It's not just medical businesses, but businesses in general. And you can check that out on the website and check that and make sure that I'm correct. And I don't know the exact percentage, but I know it's very high. And if it was easy to open a business, everybody would do it, and there would be a lot more than there are now. So really make sure that if you're going to take a second mortgage out on your home to fund your new venture of opening your own practice, that you are very confident in your business plan, your pro forma, and that if it does unfortunately not succeed, you will realize what you have at risk, which is losing your home. And that could be very upsetting and devastating, so definitely make sure that maybe that isn't your highest option. Let's put it that way. The third thing is you could borrow from family and friends. That's not unheard of. If you're going to do that, I encourage you to make sure that it's done legally with contracts, and you have a lawyer draw that up and make sure you think about everything, and also that the transaction is legal and very on the up and up and very formal, so that if there are any issues, it's very easy to at least solve, and hopefully you wouldn't have that issue. But it's also another risk when you're bringing in family and friends when they're investing in a new business in general, that it could, unfortunately, the probability of it ruining a relationship is out there. So just make sure that with the second mortgages and borrowing from family and friends, that you understand what is at risk and what all the possibilities are, and if you feel that is worth it to you or not. And everybody is different, and based on your business plan, you know, maybe it's not an issue at all. So, but those are definitely some options and things to think about. You could also come in with a partnership. Maybe you have a colleague that wants to open their own private practice as well, and if you two came together and did it together, each of you would only essentially be responsible for half of the expenditures and the upfront costs and the ongoing costs. And if you're going to do this, again, I would definitely make sure that you have a legal contract written up, reviewed, and done by a very reputable lawyer who understands partnerships, business partnerships, and can bring to light some things to put in the contract or discuss or work out before you move forward with this. I would also make sure that the transactions are legal as well, coming from both sides, and I would definitely have some verbiage in there about your partner's way of practicing and not putting the clinic at risk, and that they have to stay boarded and they have to stay licensed and they can't have any kind of legal issues. I mean, I would definitely look out for your best interest in this, because if something were to happen on their end, then you would probably have to come up with the money to buy them out or find someone to replace them. And so you want to make sure you're looking out for your best interest if you decide to go with a partnership. I know there are a lot of private practices in the Portland area that are owned by 1, 2, 3, 4 doctors, and they've been very successful, and they've been in practice for a very long time. They've also maybe started off with 1 or 2 docs, and then they hire another doc when needed, and they give an option for partnership after being there a certain amount of time. That's an option. So just keep those things in your mind. Grants. Depending on where you want to open your practice, by county, state, city level, there might be grants available federally, depending on what kind of population you want to serve. A lot of times in order to get a grant, though, they do require you to be a 501c3, which is like a nonprofit. So that's something you would want to look into further and deeper and make sure that you would qualify for those, or if you want to qualify for those, if you want to explore that option. But it's definitely a possibility, and like I said, depending on where you want to open and what population you want to serve, there might be some business development opportunities in your specific town or city or county where they're going to support that kind of endeavor. So, it's definitely something to look at. Investors. Now, if you're going to be looking at investors, you want to keep in mind the whole corporate practice of medicine. So the corporate practice of medicine is different state to state, and in some states, and I'm simplifying it, so you definitely want to make sure you do your due diligence, you look into this, you consult legal help, but basically the premise is that in certain states, you cannot own a medical practice without being a licensed doctor or medical professional who practices medicine. That means that myself, I couldn't buy a medical practice and then employ the providers, the doctors to work there in the state of Oregon. I have to make sure that the highest percentage owned of the company has to be by a medical professional who can practice medicine. And like I said, this is different state to state, and you want to dive deep and look into that. But there are specific states where you cannot be a majority owner of a business without having a medical practice degree. There are other states where you don't have to have a medical practice degree, a degree to practice medicine, however you want to say it, and you could be the majority owner of a medical practice. So maybe I could go to, I don't know, I'm just going to say Florida because I want to move there because it looks wonderful and warm and it's really cold here right now. But maybe in the state of Florida, they don't acknowledge or have regulations on who owns medical practices. So you don't have to be a medical doctor to own a practice. I could own it, and then I could employ, or I could be the majority owner and have other partners or investors who help support me, and they could be medical or non-medical. Definitely look into that. Some people like to have lines of credit that they use to open their practice, and I would say that it's a good idea to have a line of credit no matter what, no matter how you fund your practice to open, because the line of credit can come in really handy in a pinch if you're seeing a delay in payment of claims and you need to pay some large bills or make payroll, those kinds of things. Definitely make sure that you're looking into that option, and always maybe have that in your back pocket, even if that's not your primary source of funding, but you should have something available once you open so that you can use it in a pinch. The other option are credit cards, and I know this might sound a little crazy, but if your interest rate on a credit card is lower than what you could get on a loan, and you could still get the proper amount of money you would need for the startup and opening of your practice, then maybe that would be the better deal. And maybe you can get bonus points like cash back, airline miles, hotel hours, or hotel visits, however they do that bonus point thing system. But definitely look into that, because maybe it will be a win-win situation and you wouldn't have to go through the traditional bank credit union loan. You can do it through the credit card, you can get cash back, you can get points, whatever, and then you also get lower interest rate, which is always a good thing, especially as we are seeing interest rates starting to climb. So that's definitely something that you want to look at when you're looking at getting a loan or opening a practice of any sort, of looking at where interest rates are. And then another thing that people kind of consider or think about, which I think is good. It's not about actually funding the whole practice and opening, but it's definitely finding options to help you delay maybe some payments on things. And if you have to buy a lot of equipment or high-priced items, finding out if you can do any kind of financing on those instead of buying them outright, or if you can buy used equipment that is certified and still good and safe to use. Look at those options, because although it's not helping you fund your whole practice, it's helping you save money so you can put the money you save towards other things and the overall picture of everything. The one thing I have to stress to you is no matter how you're going to fund your practice, do not undercapitalize. And you might have a wonderful forecasting tool and looking at your reimbursement and thinking that it's going to be absolutely wonderful, and once you get up and running, you're going to be able to pay your bills no problem. But there are so many things that happen between pre-opening, opening your doors, and starting to get payments from insurances that are unpredictable, that you want to make sure that you're giving yourself enough buffer and money there, that you're not adding additional stress to you, your spouse, your partners, your investors, anything like that. You want to make sure that you're being very realistic when you create this budget and anticipate the things that you don't even know to anticipate about. And what I mean is, you don't know what you don't know. But there are things that happen, like pandemics and shortened in staffing, and maybe they got lost paperwork of processing some contract and it delays your reimbursement for in-network prices. Or maybe your contract and credentialing gets delayed and you're not able to send out claims as soon as you're hoping for. Or maybe a build out or something happens that's going to cost more money that you weren't anticipating. Or maybe you end up having to hire staff that cost a little bit more because they are better and you didn't anticipate that. There's just so many things that can happen from right before you open, during the build out and tenant improvement, to opening your doors and sending out those claims and waiting for reimbursement, that I just encourage you to definitely not undercapitalize your business and anticipate at least 6 months of staff wages, if not more, and also include those utility bills in there and any kind of vendor payments you might have to make, and make sure that you have a solid 6 to 9 months of buffer money, if you will, whether that's through a line of credit after your initial loan, or your initial loan will anticipate and cover that. But definitely make sure you protect that money and that you have it for keeping your payroll, keeping your lights on, and making sure that you can get to a place where money starts coming in regularly with your claims, and then you don't have to rely on that startup money anymore. If you have any tips or suggestions for your colleagues with opening a private practice because you've experienced it yourself, please leave that in the comments below. If you have any questions for me or suggestions on video topics for the future, please leave that in the comments as well. Smash the thumbs up if you liked today's topic and if it was helpful at all, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because I promise you we are going to be continuing to review a lot of the little nuances that small practices will encounter and that maybe you can't even think about or don't know about. And so that's why I'm here to help you. So make sure you subscribe. The bell icon will notify you when I release new videos. Thank you so much for the support and have a wonderful day.